Picture this, a massive capital city, home to millions, suddenly ordered into complete silence. Every street totally empty, every person told to stay inside their homes. Today, we're diving into the secret, high-stakes meeting that made this happen. A single conversation that has been 46 years in the making.
This is Islamabad. Normally, it's a buzzing, chaotic city, but right now, it's eerily silent. Security forces have sealed every single road. Now, this isn't some crisis or a disaster, it's a meticulously planned lockdown. The government has literally ordered everyone to stay indoors.
So you have to ask, why on earth would they go to such extreme lengths? What could possibly be so important that you need to seal off an entire capital city? Well, the answer is a single meeting. A meeting that could very well change the course of modern history.
All right, here's how we're going to unpack this whole thing. First, we'll look at the city on lockdown. Then we're going to meet the rivals in the room and the really unlikely peacemaker who brought them there. From there, we'll dig into the massive chasm of distrust between them. And finally, we'll ask the big question: is this a make or break moment?
A security operation on this scale happens for one reason, and one reason only. Somewhere inside this sealed-off city, tucked away in a fortified, secret location, a conversation is happening that, frankly, most of the world believed was absolutely impossible.
So, who are the main characters in this incredible geopolitical drama? Well, behind those closed doors, two delegations have gathered, and they represent nearly half a century of non-stop animosity.
On one side of the table, you have the United States, and staring back at them for the first time in a generation is a high-level delegation from its oldest adversary, the Islamic Republic of Iran.
And just look at the seniority of this American team. You've got the vice president, the special envoy to the Middle East, and a key senior advisor. This is not some low-level diplomatic chat. Washington is sending in the absolute heavyweights.
And the Iranian delegation? Just as formidable. It is a massive 71-member team led by Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, a hugely powerful figure who's not just the Speaker of Parliament, but also a former commander in the elite Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. And with their foreign minister and central bank governor there too, it's pretty clear they mean business. 46. Just think about that number. That is how many years of pure hostility are hanging over this room. These are the first direct, high-level talks since the Islamic Revolution back in 1979. We're talking about almost half a century of proxy wars, sanctions, and even recent direct military clashes, all of it compressed into this one single meeting.
So, the big question is, why Islamabad? How did Pakistan, of all places, manage to become the indispensable host for this historic summit?
But before we get into how they pulled it off, let's just be clear on what it takes to be a real mediator. See, it's not just about being neutral. It's about doing the near impossible, earning genuine trust from two sides who are locked in opposition, and creating a channel for communication where there was nothing but hostile silence.
And that is exactly what Pakistan managed to do through a very careful, deliberate process. With the Americans, they leveraged a direct relationship between their army chief and the US president. With Iran, they used their strategic neutrality in the recent conflict and their long shared border to earn that trust. This unique credibility with both sides is what allowed them to broker a ceasefire and ultimately secure this summit.
But look, getting these two rivals into the same room, while it's a huge achievement, that's only step one. The talks themselves are incredibly dangerous, mostly because both sides are walking in with fundamentally different ideas of what they're even there to talk about.
So first, you have the American position, laid out pretty bluntly by President Trump on social media. The view from Washington is that Iran is negotiating from a position of total weakness and that they have no other choice.
But Iran sees it completely differently. Their delegation leader showed up with two non-negotiable demands before talks can even start: a ceasefire in Lebanon and the release of their frozen assets. So for them, these aren't negotiating points, they are absolute preconditions. And you can see here, on every single critical issue, they are just worlds apart. The US is demanding zero uranium enrichment. Iran says that's non-negotiable. The US sees sanctions as its leverage. Iran demands they be lifted. The US says Lebanon is not part of this deal. Iran says a ceasefire there is an absolute precondition. This is the chasm they somehow have to cross.
And this quote just perfectly captures the intense political pressure on the American vice president. He's been handed what one source calls a poisoned chalice, and it's a true no-win situation for him. If a deal is struck, the president gets all the credit. But if the talks collapse, the vice president gets all the blame.
So with these impossible divides and this immense pressure, is there any hope at all? Is there any path forward? Or is this whole summit just the final diplomatic formality before the next big escalation?
Well, there is one fragile path forward on the table. It's being called a ladder of trust. It starts with tiny little steps designed to build confidence. You know, things like Iran lets more ships through the Strait of Hormuz, and in return the US pauses any new sanctions. Only if that holds can they move to a formal ceasefire, and only then can they even think about starting long-term talks. It's a slow, deliberate attempt to build trust where none has existed for decades.
And this timeline really puts today's summit into stark perspective. Every one of these events, from the 1979 revolution that cut all ties, through decades of diplomatic silence, all the way to the recent 40 days of open combat, has led directly to this single room in Islamabad.
In the end, the summit's host, Pakistan's Prime Minister, probably put it best. He chose his words very carefully: make or break. And that implies there's no middle ground here. The outcome is binary. It's either going to be a historic success or a catastrophic failure.
And that leaves us all with the final, vital question as the world just holds its breath. Is this meeting in a silent city the beginning of the end of a long, bitter conflict? Or is the failure of these talks just the excuse everyone's been waiting for to start the next, much larger war? Today, we find out.